Hello, Internet. So, I wanted to hop on here and talk about something that's been kind of weighing on my mind for a little bit. It's that, well, there's been a lot actually. One thing that I've noticed, like, being a millennial, an avocado toast eater, if you will. Although, honestly, I've never tried avocado toast. Somebody needs to tell me how that's like. Anyway, most people I know of in my age range have always had a sense of hopelessness, and that, like, the very idea and notion of a future had been kind of taken away from us. You know, the crash in 2008, 2009, the Great Recession really held back so many people of my age group. And it had such a profound effect in terms of the way not only so many millennials viewed themselves as individual people, but how they viewed society as a whole. And most of our lives had been just sort of like stuck in neutral. There's so many people I know of who still live with their parents, who've got like piles of debt, who can't even think of the notion of getting their own apartment, let alone buying a house and getting married someday. And I see so many people just so isolated and alone. Nobody, even before COVID, had a whole lot of like social interacting. I mean, things are kind of have been for a long time situated where so many people had to work so many hours just to barely survive. But the problem now has become, now you have a whole generation of people who've been stuck in neutral for so long that they no longer can dream or see a future at all. There's a kind of bitterness that builds up. And whatever future most of us can think of, it's never been good. And I think because of that, a lot of people my age, maybe younger, I don't pretend to know what Gen Z experiences, were primed to become radicalized in their politics. Radicalization just doesn't happen overnight. It happens over a momentous amount of just bad luck happening to you constantly, over and over and over again. And when you look around you and everything has stayed the same, but the face you see in the mirror has gotten a little older and you're a little saltier. And then social media doesn't help because, well, you start comparing yourself to almost everybody else. Well, that person's getting married. That person's having kids. And even if social media wasn't there, your parents and older people will look at you differently. And even though they might not like explicitly say it to you, you feel this sense of judgment, whether you put it on yourself or not. Like, you sense it. And I think a lot of men, particularly who are millennials, feel it a whole lot more than women do. But even as a female millennial myself, I feel it to a degree. I feel like I'm a failure at times for living with my dad. Not because I don't try or don't want to move out. It's because, well, quite honestly, it's just too damn expensive. And considering the fact that so many people I know my age who are in precarious kind of like job situations where you're working like maybe one or two, like a DoorDash job and you're an Uber driver, that's not really solid employment for anybody, quite honestly. It's not like how it was for my father's generation, where maybe you had one, or even my dad's generation, you had one solid job, and it was more than enough to buy a decent house, buy a car, and live off a single income. Maybe you weren't living extravagantly well, but you had enough. And it just feels like there's zero empathy towards millennials because of that. If there is a piece of advice I could give to Gen Z, it's that don't get into debt. Don't get into student loan debt. And if you can, stay on your parents' insurance as long as you possibly can. Because I know that a lot of these younger people, Gen Z types, they are inheriting an even worse economy than what we millennials experienced. And people wonder why people are so apathetic towards the whole system or angry towards it. There's no real reward towards any of it. And all you do is you work so hard for what very little you have. And at any given moment, you know that it could be all taken away from you. I have somebody I used to know years ago who's currently living in a motel because he can't afford to live on his own. He's got no family. He's got no friends. And the only way he can survive is by being an Uber driver. But being an Uber driver isn't really a whole lot to get you ahead. I mean, it's something, but still. We're going to get to a point in this society, I think, where there aren't going to be enough resources to sustain this kind of a system anymore. We take so much for granted in this country. After COVID, it was like everybody just takes for granted that the lights will turn on and that the internet will work and all will be well in the world. I get so sick and tired of people talking about, oh, well, this is the new normal or normal. It's absolutely goddamn ridiculous. The things that were normal are the things that were contributed to somebody like Donald Trump. The things that went and contributed to the very many deaths in the United States because of COVID. But it can be truly depressing at times. It really can. In my own town, there was like this huge upsurge of like homelessness because they broke up all the homeless in a few cities away from me, and they just dispersed them all everywhere. And they had nowhere to go. I don't blame the homeless people. Where are they going to go? And if nobody's going to solve this problem, they got to go somewhere. So they took the buses and they wound up in our town. A lot of them, it seemed like. It was insane. Well, on that delightful note, if you see this video, please share it with your friends, like it, subscribe, please. All right, I'll let you go. Bye, Internet.